Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's REC Digital Navigator update preview. My name is Jenny, and I'll be facilitating today's event. I'll be joined by Dec and Mark, who will be leading the event today. And before we begin, I just want to go through some housekeeping. So we ask that you keep your cameras and your microphones off. The event will be recorded, so if you miss anything during the hour today, you can always go back and watch it. We will be using Slido for the Q&A and for questions that we have for you. So we ask you to scan the QR code that I'll bring up in the next slide. And like I mentioned before, there will be opportunities for a Q&A at the end. So if anybody could just scan the QR code for us, please, on your phones. I'm just going to give that a minute just so everybody gets it. And if not, then we do have the Slido link in the chat. Okay, I think I'll move forward. So this is the agenda for today. And I'll now be handing off to Dec and Mark to give you a new look at the Digital Navigator.
Thanks, Jenny. Could you just go to the next slide, please?
Yes, of course.
Right. Firstly, thanks to everyone who's joined the call. Thanks for your time today. We really appreciate that. So the purpose of the call is over the next few weeks, we'll be releasing a new iteration of the Digital Navigator, which presents the REC legal code and the data specification as well in human readable form. A couple of words to say just before we go into it. This is very much a work in progress. So what we're going to demo to you today is not the finished product. So there are some design issues, there are some blank spaces, things like that. But we really wanted to show you the direction of thinking, some of the new features, and get some feedback now while we're still working on it. So there's an opportunity to fold those in as we finalize the structure of the product over the next few weeks. So that said, in terms of what we're hoping to show you today, it's a bit of a new look to it, a new dashboard, hopefully new, easier navigation. It should be faster in terms of loading time. So we'll show you some of that. Also, we've looked at changing the search function, and also due to feedback, we're going to add a new tab for release management as well. So a few new features, hopefully some increased usability. But as I said, very keen to show these to you now, get feedback, fold that in the same way that we did prior to launching Digital Navigator before. So again, thank you for your time. I hope you find this useful. I think we certainly will, and we really value that feedback. So at that point, Jenny, if we can hand over to Dec for a bit of a demo.
I'll just take over the sharing.
Thanks, Dec.
Let me know when you can see it.
I can see that.
Okay, so this is the current as-is Digital Navigator. I just wanted to flash this up so you can kind of see where we've come from and what we're going to. I'm sure most of you are using this. At least I'm hoping most of you are using this. So now this is coming on to the new look. So as Mark was saying, it is still a work in progress. We're still filling things out, but the overall design is kind of where we want to be heading. So we just kind of wanted to get your thoughts and opinions on it. So on this left-hand side, these kind of top two boxes here, you've got the dashboards. So that's where on the current system, you load in, you kind of scrolling down, so you can't necessarily see everything at one click. Whereas here, you can see exactly where you're going. You can flick through these. And in the same way that you currently would, as you're clicking into one, it'll take you through to the page. So as Mark was saying, one of the main things that we were looking at is trying to increase the speed. So in separating a lot of the things out, we've tried to do that. The part that we're trying to increase the speed for the schedule side of things is currently in progress at the minute. So that's not in here, but I think you can kind of see the increase in speed already just from flicking around the dashboards. If I come across to the data spec. So again, we've got the same overall layout of the side navigation here with your changing dashboards here, search functionality, and then pre-release. So as we're populating these documents, they'd be released down here. Click onto the search. Hope you can kind of see that this is kind of loading a little bit quicker than the current version. Load that as now just, there we go. So the same as the current version, we've got all of the same kind of boxes. One where you can just type in whatever you want to search. And then again, this is not 100% finished, but you'd get the idea of being able to filter the source and then filter the target too. So this, as you're scrolling down, will just keep loading if there is data. So if I remove this and then we just keep scrolling down, it will break. The same situation here. I think it's because I'm in incognito. If I just go back onto the same, it will load up. And then you can see here, we're loading more and it'll eventually bring through the second batch of data. The same happens for the scenario variants. It'll just constantly keep loading until you get to the end of the data. So instead of bringing all of the data through and slowing your machines down as it's doing. Similar process, you can type into here whatever you would want to. Whether that's an ID, whether it's a name. Still very much work in progress. But then to show you through the rest of the tabs, we've got the codes roadmap. A lot of the pages will have these kind of quick links at the bottom, so they're yet to be fleshed out. But the idea would be that any links that are particularly useful for everyone, we can bring through into these. We're still trying to get the requirements on exactly what they would be. And then through to the release management. So this is the same up here potentially. Click on specific releases, and then that will bring you down to wherever that would be. But the same similar layout to what is currently in the EMAR IBM solution, just a table of all of the different changes that link you through to the release notes. We go through because I'm sure you've seen all of that. That, as a very overall, is kind of where we're aiming to. I think we've got some questions on the rest of the slides. If I hand back the presenting. Mark, is that you?
Yep, sorry, just bear with me a second. I'm just bringing up the slides again.
Happy to go back over any of the specific points if anyone has any questions on any of them as well. Where it was a pretty whistle-stop tour.
Are there any questions? I'll take that as a no. Okay, so we have some questions on our side. So again, with the Slido QR code in the corner, if you haven't already
Sorry, Jenny, sorry. There were some questions I thought on Slido. Did we want to just address those, or am I breaking the system?
Sure. No, that's absolutely fine. We can go. Yeah, is it these ones just here, thinking about the demonstration?
No, there's some questions come through from attendees.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't see those. Okay, yeah. Sure. So the first question is, on the dashboard, can there be an option to just view all documents, schedules, as well as without having to guess the category?
Yeah, we can add a catch-all at the bottom that is just a big long list of all of the different documents.
Okay. And the next question is, when filtering the source target, can the acronyms be added, i.e. HHDC, so it's easier to search when there's a long list?
So on the full search, if you actually type in the acronym or the full name, it will come up with, what's the word? if on the data spec search you type in the acronym into the search bar and hit search, it will bring up any of the source and target which match that, but we can add in that into the drop down as well. The drop down's not fully formed yet, as you could have seen. So yes, I think is the answer.
And the next question is, could the DFlow number be added to the scenario variance list? Would it make it easier to search through when accessing the list directly?
Yeah, that's fine.
And also, will there be improved pre-release information, for example, bringing in all updates in a release, say from Alexon as well as REC, as changes can be difficult to locate?
I'll pick that one up. What we are looking to do here is show the REC release information. I think where I'm not quite sure if I'm answering the question or where this question is coming from, so happy to be contacted and we can pick this up. But what we're looking to do is make sure that all the REC release information is very clearly there, and you can see how those REC documents and artifacts are being changed. Obviously, with Alexon BSC, where they are making changes to the data spec, then those will be clearly called out there. But if there are other documents which are BSC specific, then quite possibly not.
And the final question for now is ref release info. It was discussed in prior REC demo. It links to external releases that occur at same time later, often at release, not pre-release.
Okay, just reading that through.
Yeah.
So if this question is asking about getting release information pre the release, I think we do publish the release information ahead of the release. The requirements in the REC are actually after the release, which we don't think is quite right. So we do try and get those details out there as soon as we can. There is quite a lot of work leading up to a release and bringing in all the different codes, so from BSC, etc. But we are trying to present that information as soon as we can. Again, quite happy to be contacted offline and talk about how we can improve that for parties. But I think that's where we are at the moment. I hope that helps.
Okay, thank you. And Mark, I can see you've raised your hand. Do you have a question?
Yeah, it's just on the thing about changes from other parties like Alexon. Given that there is a central change register that you and all the other parties are supposed to put into, is it not possible that REC could pull that information and add it to the list of what's in a release so that parties can just see it there, even if you don't provide the detail? At least you could say, well, you've got, BSCP change X, 1, 2, 3, SPA change, ABC are all going live at that time off of the central register, so that there is one place.
The intention was to, I don't know if you can remember at this point, but on the dashboard there's a kind of a square on the right hand side which is currently blank. The intention was to bring that sort of information into there, so you'd be able to see what's kind of coming up in the next pre-release, and then with kind of side arrows be able to flick between future changes. So it is in the pipeline. It's just not necessarily ready for this demo.
Also, we are talking to the owners, the codes that own other data items within the REC data specification, looking to do two things. Firstly, create a log that we'd all maintain across the codes that list data specification changes, which we could publish on the Digital Navigator. And secondly, introduce a template for changes to the data specification that they would fill in and give to us, so that no matter which industry code was changing something within the data specification, the way it's presented, the legal text changes, is consistent across the different codes. And then we can also publish that on the Digital Navigator as part of the pre-release pack, so that you've got that information on the Navigator and in a consistent format. But those discussions are underway.
Okay, great. I hope that answered your question. In the meantime, we've been having these questions answered, and so I don't know if Dec or Mark or Roz would like to go through any answers to these, or we can move on to the next question.
Let's just have a quick look at these. Is it possible to download proposed changes to documents and data flows in your new format?
If you split that into two
yeah.
and start with the download, yes, all of the current functionality that's in the navigator will be brought through into the new version. So downloading documents will be, you will be able to do the proposing changes. Mark, I think, do you want to take that?
Is it possible to download the data specification items as well as the schedules?
It is, but it's a little, not necessarily broken, but doesn't work 100% of the time at the minute, which is what we're trying to fix into this new version.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, maybe we'll distribute an answer to that as well after the call. So we'll talk about what we're fixing, and that will help. In terms of a help guide, yes, I'm sure we can do that. We'll have a think about the best format for that. But yeah, I'm happy to receive ongoing feedback before and after release. Just an apology if you heard any barking there. I'm house sitting 3 dogs. It's not going terribly well. I'm really sorry about that. The third one looks like a comment, so that's fine. Thank you for that. Yeah, I guess the last one's a bit of a comment as well. So yes, I think we can provide some slides and screenshots, perhaps with a short description. So Dec, if you can do me some screenshots.
We can either do screenshots or the designs we're aiming towards and send both of them over.
Okay.
The designs would be a little bit more detailed.
Yeah. If you could provide me ones of those today, and then I can turn those around over next week. Is that okay, Jenny? Does that tackle those questions?
There's just one
Mark,
more question
I think one
at
more
the top.
coming.
Will updates to the service desk be made? It isn't always straightforward to log tickets or find info.
So that appears. Sorry, go on, Roz.
I was just going to ask if a bit more information could be provided on that one in terms of the service desk. Is it that you'd like more training for the service desk team members so that we can so they're able to aid you?
The option to log a ticket moved and had to click through to find the option. Answers aren't always in FAQs.
Oh, is this the button at the top that says service desk on the digital navigator? We can have a look.
Is this meaning the REC portal service desk?
We can take that offline if you want to drop an email to inquiries, or I'll pop an email address in the chat, and you can send us an email with a bit more detail, and then we can reach out to our REC service desk colleagues and the team that maintain the portal on that.
Yeah, I think if that's everything, then we'll move on. Our second question is, in terms of the digital REC as a whole, is there anything that is currently on IBM Jazz that you would like to see on the digital navigator? And is there anything else that you feel would be useful to have on the digital navigator, both functionality and content? I'll just give everyone a couple minutes to participate. So this says, for the DB downloads at release, access database, and HTML, when changes are made, even minor ones, like the last 2 or 3 for June release, please can you make it obvious the version number and release date? It has been very hard to determine if you are taking the right version.
Yeah, I think we can have a look at that. Maybe it's an updated date might be the easier way to do that, but we can take that away and have a look at that for sure.
And links to market messages, data items, currently links reference to market messages to defined items, but not the message itself.
Yeah, we can look at that too.
And the last comment is, I prefer the digital navigator, and would it be, would like to see all of it migrated across from IBM Jazz, or is that not possible?
I think the
Mark,
intent.
do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dave. I think the intent is to take as much as we can. It's not necessarily possible to take everything. So if there are particular things, then yeah, we'd like to understand what people would like to see migrated across that isn't there, so we can prioritize accordingly. So we think we've got most of the sort of priority functionality and what people value, but you know, if we're missing something, then we'd really like to understand that. And I think that next question covers one of them. So the business process maps, that might be a challenge, but we can take that away and have a look at that, just because of the way they're rendered into email currently. Yeah, we note the points on speed, and yes, we spent a significant amount of effort to try and improve that. Obviously, there's a lot of data being loaded in the background, and it's managed in quite a different way to what's in the IBM platform. But yeah, we would hope that you'd see significant improvements in this new version.
Okay, I think if that's everything on that, then we can move to, I guess, the Q&A if anybody has any remaining questions, or I think there's actually, oh, the next step. Sorry, Mark, I'll hand over to you.
That's fine. If you could just go to the next slide, please. Okay, thanks. Thank you. Okay, once again, thanks everyone for the engagement and the questions. We really value those, so we will take those away and we'll respond to them. And where possible, we will certainly fold those into the development we're doing now. So the next version of Digital Navigator, we will be launching in Q3. You can see we've made some progress, but there's still more to do. And again, that's why we want to show it to you now, to make sure we're on the right track and what we can work with to make it much better. Once we have made those changes in that release, we were looking next to how to present legal text changes for upcoming releases. So redlining, you might think of it. So we were thinking of the best ways of trying to present that, so people can see what changes are coming and understand better the legal text changes, how it impacts them, etc. So that's what's coming up after the next release. Okay, Jenny.
Okay, so now, like I said, we have a Q&A session. So any remaining questions that you may have, you can put into Slido again, and Mark or Dec or Roz can answer those questions for you. I mean, I know we did a lot of questions and answers before that, but if there's any remaining ones.
It can also be statements too, if there's something specific in IBM that you'd like bringing forward.
any and all feedback, please. Yeah. And any advice there, stopping dogs barking, would be welcome to.
Okay, and as always, if you don't have any questions at the moment, but you do have any later, you can contact us after, and we can answer your questions then.
Yep, and I've popped our contact email address in the meeting chat there as well.
So thank you everyone for attending.
There's one question just come into.
Oh, sorry.
Slido.
Okay. Is there a current link to the codes roadmap within IBM Jazz Digital Navigator? Currently, I can only see access through wiki article.
Mark or Roz?
I believe it's in the top right hand side of Digital Navigator, on the hamburger menu, I think you call it.
That's right. Dec, have you still got Digital Navigator up? Can you share that quickly, or?
I can pull it up. So it's in this drop down on the right hand side, up at the top, and then.
Oh, it's not quite sharing yet, Dec.
Has anything come through?
No, not yet.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So on this top right hand side, here, and then into here, which will take you to this page, and then if you click on this link, it'll download you the up-to-date version.
Okay. I can't see any other questions for the moment. So I guess that just leaves me to say thank you for attending. And just before you go, we'd really like to hear your feedback. So if you could go to our Slido once again and just give us any feedback you have, asking how useful the session was, and if you have any feedback on how to improve these events, that would really help us out.